Welcome to today's stream. If you could hear me, please put a 1 in the chat. Good to see you, Sister Shireen. Happy Wednesday. I hope you can hear me. Yeah, I hope today is a blessed day. So today we're going to talk about how to start a Ooh. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to start a business by faith. What would that look like? If I were at a 9 to 5 today, I'd give you my strategy of what I'd be doing to exit my 9 to 5 and the things that I would put in order before I did do that exit, okay? So, hey, good to see you. I see Alexa as well as Sister Shireen. I promise one of these days, I am going to move past some of these tech issues. If this is your first time, welcome to Cure for the Soul. I'm Latanya. I'm an artist, a writer, a businesswoman, as well as an artist and soon to be publisher. I'm sorry, not soon to be publisher, but soon to be author. And actually, we can really just scratch that off the list because I'm already editing my copy, and we're almost there. I'm going to set up an official launch and an official announcement to be able to share the publication date for my first published book. I've been writing for many years, but I have yet to actually finish a project from writing all the way from the start to finish. I also have some books that I've already written in backlog, so I'll be pretty busy. So today, again, I help Christians called to the marketplace to create profitable and purpose-driven business. And a business that's just a business as compared to a purpose-driven business, those are two completely different things. I work with anyone as it relates to setting up the planning, the goal setting, and moving forward in order to hit those targets and hit those goals. This avenue is for business leaders as well as purposeful and intentional growth and spiritual growth. So again, welcome. And if you're here for the first time, again, welcome. So today we're going to find out and talk about what I would do once again if I was leaving a 9 to 5 or gearing myself up to walk into another venture that God has called me to. Okay, so number one is I would find out my motive. What is my motive for being in business? Is this a true calling? Is this what I'm created to do? Am I created to build a business, or am I being told to build a business or to start a business because someone said that it would sound good? There is a difference between being an employee as well as an employer. So I would highly encourage you to kind of check your motives, because business is not something, it may look glamorous. A lot of times people make YouTube videos and they make it sound so good. That's not the average story. I've been reading a lot of books and been learning about people that have started business for a long time. And they too will tell you that's not the typical, these cases that you're constantly seeing on YouTube. Oh, I started a business and it just this and this and this and this and that happened. Well, it can happen. Let me not say it can't happen, but business is a lot of work. It's a lot of investing. If you have a family, if you have children, it's a huge time investment, because the way I look at my businesses or anything I've done over the years is the amount of money I've invested into it as well as the time. It's a lot of money and time. So with that being said, also with your business, as I mentioned, there's a difference between a purpose-driven business or a business. So if you're looking to create a purpose-driven business, this means that you're looking to serve people. You're using your gifts, your talents, all your skill sets, and this involves your soul that you're pouring into your business. In my art, I still poured my soul into my business, but leaving the art on hold and moving into a purpose-driven life as it relates to even starting a new purpose-driven business, I actually see the difference. And everything I did, I had a backstory behind it and a way to be able to market it in a unique way. So you're going to need that in a purpose-driven business. A purpose-driven business is one that you're born to do. It's not just about money. It's about making a difference. It's about serving as a servant leader, being able to support those that are called to your life. If you're called to someone's life and you're not showing up, you're maybe not ready for a purpose-driven business right now. There may be some soul work that still needs to be done on that mindset, the mind, the will, and emotions to get you to a phase of a purpose-driven business. But a purpose-driven business is one that excites you. It's not just about, oh, I'm just trying to get in business because I need to make money. So you want to think about, what are you born to do? In addition, even with all of that, I still pray and confirm, God, is this what you want me to do? What I believe that this business is this what you want me to do? I believe that this is what you're telling me. And please, I'll say this. It doesn't take asking a million times. Now, as he's told you, initially, you can get clarification on what he shared with you. But for the most part, it does not involve asking 100 times, is this what you want me to do? One of the things about being in business, a huge part of being in business is being able to make quick and sound decisions using godly wisdom. If you're not quick with the mind, business is not going to be helpful for you because it's going to do nothing but make you more anxious. You have to be able to make very quick decisions and know that this is what you are called to do. And I don't believe that God would put a business in your heart or a big calling in your heart that's bigger than anything that you can do on your own that's going to impact others. It's not selfish. It's actually selfish. I don't believe that God would call you to do such a thing by yourself and have you to keep racking your brain on, am I supposed to be doing this? In addition to that, clarify what kind of business it's going to be. What kind of business will you have? Will you have a business that is, switch a little bit around. Will you have a business that is a product-driven business? Will you have a service-driven business? Are you going to be a distributor for other businesses, like a hub, a warehouse, or just a business where you're distributing for multiple businesses? Because a lot of businesses, they start, but they need a warehouse in order to handle the distribution as opposed to possibly keeping it in their home office. In addition, you may want to be an investor. Are you investing in products, projects, real estate, or things like that? Are you going to be an affiliate in which you do not have to have your own product or service, but you are motivated to sell someone else's products or service? So you want to decide if that's something that you want to do as well. And if you have a professional license, that would make sense that you would go into a profession that may have involve your license, your legal license as a lawyer or something like that. So you just want to really get clear on what kind of business that you're starting. Some businesses have a hybrid model, such as in my business with Cure for the Soul Inc. I work on a hybrid model, which I love taking multiple things and making them as one. I offer both a product and a service through, the service is through consulting, coaching, and doing like the challenges, the webinars and things like that. But I also have products because I'm a publisher. So I have the Dream Big Goal Setting Guide and Planner, as well as other products that I'm developing that will help and support business owners as they're moving forward. So with me being now a book publisher, something just happened to the camera. What just happened? Oh Lord. Okay, forgive me because I don't know what just happened with this, all of that stuff. Okay, I hope I'm okay. So, like I said, I see your question, Alexa. Yes, I do help current businesses because a lot of times, especially in the infancy stage of business, sometimes we could start a business, but something kind of didn't kind of set well right initially. So sometimes we need to work with a coach in order to move us to the next level to help us identify the blind spots that we can't see when we're doing things solo and doing things alone. So yes, I do work with existing businesses. One of the things I was saying, I don't know what I was saying before this camera started looking extremely strange and weird, but I said something about what kind of business that you want to be in. And I also have a free startup checkup. I have a free business checklist, a startup checklist that if you're getting in business for the first time, you need to know where to go for particular things. You don't need to be doing a ton of Googling initially. You need to know initially where to go. So as someone that supports Christians in business, I have that on my website as well. If you already have all of that information, you won't need it, but I do offer it on cureforthesoul.com under my resources, and it's called Dream Big Goal Setting Guide. It's free and it has a business startup checklist in there. There you would want to just make sure that you have all your I's dotted as well as all your T's crossed. Okay. And let's see. Okay, she said I'm good because my camera started mirroring. I think I must have pushed a button and it came up kind of strange and weird. One of these days, I'm going to get so good at doing these things without any errors. But just stick around for that and continue to pray for me. Again, let me show that on the screen. Okay, so on the website, there's a Dream Big Goals. It's a Dream Big Goals under the, what is it, under resources? I think I said, yeah. So under resources right here, you could go right here to the Dream Big Goal Setting Guide. And that does have a business startup checklist. And it helps you to get going with setting your goals and everything that you'll need to start transitioning with setting up your goals, okay? And your vision. All right. Okay. Hey, Christina, good to see you. Good to see you. Okay, so we're on, I think I said number three. Number three was what kind of business do I want to be in? And that's where I was discussing a product, a service. Are you going to be an investor, a professional, a distribution person, an affiliate, etc.? Number two was pray and confirm your calling with God. And number one is find out why, my motive for wanting to be in business. Is it because of purpose? Is it just because I need extra money? So find out that as well. And then I just shared the free business startup checklist with you. And what's also important is number 5 is you want to decide on the type of business that you will have. What is going to be your legal structure? I don't suggest being a proprietor in 2024. I say that because a proprietor is just you. You could do whatever it is that you want. I do not give legal advice or business advice about corporations, partnerships, LLCs, LLPs, or any of that because that can cross over into legal. However, I believe that once you seek the right information and decide upon if you want to have an LLC, a C Corp and move it into an S Corp, or if you just want to keep it as a C Corp, or if you want to do a partnership with someone, you have several options of how you want to set up your business. Cure for the Soul Ministries is set up as a nonprofit. It is not a 501c3, but it is set up and registered with the state for nonprofit. So if you wanted to go that route as well, that's still an option. Number 6, and this goes back to what Alexa said. Why is your name that? Because my speaker wants to go off if I mention that name. Pretty name though. So what I would also do, number 6, I'd hire a coach, a mentor, or join some type of program that supports what I'm trying to do. If I'm trying to start up a new business, I want to get around people that are also looking to start up a new business. If I want to get into something right now in my life, because some of us are over the age of 40, which means that our time is extremely of value. One of the biggest assets, actually the main asset that I have right now is my time. So anytime that I'm using where I'm missing information and I'm not educating myself on something, that means that I'm losing momentum with the time that I could be using to bring in income. So what helps you to get past that and helps you to pivot and accelerate through some of those hard questions is a coach or a mentor. Now, some mentors, you can work with some mentors for free. Some people may be willing to help you and give you some advice for free. I would hire a coach. I didn't hire a coach right before I left my 9 to 5 this time because I didn't even know that I was going into business. I was just told by God to leave my job, and I didn't go into business again until later sometime that same year. So I didn't know actually what I was going to be doing. But if I did know and pinpoint what I was going to be doing while I was still working, it would have been best for me financially to hire a coach to help me to accelerate and answer questions that I did not know or don't know, or just because they could see ahead because they've already been there. If not, just join a program. If you can't afford to do any of these, hey, if you invest in a book that's about $20, any type of business book, if you search on Amazon, you find some really good books with good recommendations. You can read the reviews. I would spend my time reading a ton of books on business startup, marketing, leadership, things of that nature, or anything specific to my business type. You can even go to the library. But I'm going to say this, if you don't have money to buy books and own them for your own library, whether that's through a Kindle book, because even Kindle, like some of the good books, they'll put them on sale for like $5 or so. If you do not want to invest in your own library, I'm going to just say this, I'm going to be honest, you don't need a business, because business is about investing in all of the tools that we need in order to grow as leaders, as well as to grow our businesses. So if we're struggling with things like hiring a coach or buying a set of $20 books that we may spend $300 on for some good books that are going to last in our library and that are going to give us invaluable wisdom and knowledge to help us with our business, we don't really need to be in business, because it's going to cost money to run a business. And if you want to hire people, whether that be contractors, to build out specifics for your business, it's going to cost money. If you want to acquire products, inventory, whatever it is, it's going to cost some sort of money. Now, you can maybe do it a little bit on a shoestring, but we have to have a budget for our education as well. And if I had to do it over again as far as hiring a coach, and I knew that I was actually about to leave my job specifically to start a business, I would have done that. So, and let's talk about our financials. This is the most important part that a lot of people don't go over before they step out on faith to do a job. Now, we do know that sometimes the way things are set up, we can't plan it to a T. We just can't do that. Sometimes we may get laid off, right? Sometimes we may have to just do some sort of extra pivot because we got fired. It just depends. It means sometimes you may have to resign from your role, which is what I had to do. Now, I believe that God had been telling me and kind of training me to prepare for some type of change. Now, he wasn't necessarily saying you are preparing to leave your job at this time. But the closer I got to the date that I resigned, there were just things that were starting to happen at my job that never happened the whole 3.5 years that I worked there. There were starting to be situations where I had to talk to leadership. I ended up crying on one of the phones with leaderships because I had I had a manager as well as a director on the phone questioning me and interrogating me about something in particular that has never happened. So I had to defend myself on that. I had to escalate a couple of things that were going on, and I was talked to in such a disrespectful way out of the blue from my direct manager. So it was things that were starting to pile up on top of me, knowing that God is calling me to leave my job. So in my case, I had to resign. But it wasn't like God hadn't been working with me to tell me something was coming. I just didn't know that it was going to be that. Because actually, to be honest, I was in the process of searching for a house. So I really could have stayed at that job and said, hey, well, I'm about to sign my name on a mortgage and I'm just going to stay here. But I obeyed the direction of the Holy Spirit and moved on and pivoted to the unknown because I had no idea what I would be doing next. Okay, so let's talk about our financials. This is number 7. This is important because this is one of the areas where I struggled when I had to keep going back to the 9 to 5 during having my own businesses. How much money do you currently have today saved up, and how much will you need for this particular business? What are you going to need to start as your initial cost, and how much money, liquid assets do you have today? We can't avoid that, especially if God is giving you an opportunity to plan it right now. I wouldn't recommend just saying, hey, I just quit all of a sudden without any type of savings. Now, sometimes that has to happen. Sometimes God is saying, trust me, just jump out on faith. I've done that before too, and that's not a bad thing. But if you have the opportunity, I'd say for about 6 to 24 months, I would work on an exit plan that involves a good financial plan with savings and things like that. And how much can I invest in the business? How much can I invest today or every week or every month as I'm still working my 9 to 5? How much will the new business need to bring in every month in order for me to replace the income at my 9 to 5? That's an important one too. So how much money will I need to make in order to replace my 9 to 5 or at least a livable wage? So how much is my mortgage or my rent? How much is my living expenses? How much do I pay for food, groceries, dining out? All of those things need to be worked out in a budget. I did all of that consistently. I actually was just saving up money, and I didn't live off of all of my income. The whole time I worked at my last job, I did not live, ever since I've lived in Dallas, before I left that job, I never lived off of my whole income. And that helps me to be able to save and to be able to pay off things so that when I do exit out of the 9 to 5, I not only have a savings, but I have things that are already paid for. And I get that sometimes, depending on the income, when I left working from Comcast, I didn't have a car that was paid for. I didn't have like a huge savings, but I did have a nice amount of savings, about $16,000 liquid. And I still had other expenses. So I calculated all of those things, and I also had credit cards. All right. So how long, if you were to get laid off today, if you were to lose your income today from your employer, how long can you survive? How long can you survive financially if you got laid off today, tomorrow, at the end of the month? That's a question we want to ask, because sometimes we could get so excited about our business. Oh, we're starting this, we're starting that. And it's so exciting. Trust me, I know, because sometimes my brain gets so excited that I have to calm myself down because it has all these ideas. But if something happened now, how would I survive? Now, the difference between living by faith and asking questions like this is God wants us to be prepared. He wants us to use our wisdom. He wants us to use the wisdom that he's given us. When we're using wisdom, we have to ask ourselves some hard questions. It's no different than making this is a life-changing decision to leave a financial comfort zone that you've known, even though you've had to work hard for that income, or you had to put up with a lot of stress from these employers in order to bring in this consistent income that you're bringing in. But at the same time, if we're not preparing ourselves as much as we possibly can before we make this huge leap of faith, it's going to be way harder on us than it needs to be. And I always like to say, I know it's two scenarios. You get the scenario where you don't have that sort of choice. I've been in that scenario as well. And you get the scenario where God is being patient with you and he's allowing you to obtain the wisdom in order to pivot and make an exit the right way. Okay. When I moved here, I planned it, but my plans didn't go according to plans. So I had to pivot on the same day that I was to move long distance and change my plans. So, but God, he honors faith. And no matter how you find yourself in your business, if you keep going to him to seek him out for wisdom that's specific to your challenges, he is going to supply your needs. I know that for a fact. He will supply your needs because your currency is faith. So let's look also at our current assets, right? Some of you have homes, 401ks, different type of accounts, profit sharing accounts, different things like that. So how are you currently handling your assets, whether it's stocks, whatever? How are you currently handling your cash? Are you setting budgets for your spending? Do you spend just and buy what you want to spend just because you can? How is that working out for your life? Because one thing also is when we move into operating a business, these same skills that we learned as an employee, that we learned just to manage our own household, we have to use these skills in order to be very meticulous and very detailed in the business, in the paperwork, in the foundation, and setting up the business correctly, and hopefully to bring someone on board to help us with those monthly financials as well as that bookkeeping. So ask yourself, how are you currently managing your assets? And I've also mentioned that I would do at least a 6-month to 24-month plan where I'm setting aside a specific amount of money during that time so that I can know how much I'm saving, as much as I can save, to give me time. Once I transition into doing my business full time, I can work take those full-time hours that I was working on, that 9 to 5, and then move it into, having like a full-time schedule for the first 6 to 12 months of my own business. So let me rephrase that again. I would work on saving for the next 16 to 24 months in a fund that's specific to my household expenses, my overhead, and any business expenses that I know would be coming due, okay? I would also maximize my HSA for as long as I can. I would put the maximum amount in my HSA account, your health savings account, the maximum that you can put in, because it's tax free when you put it in there. So I would change my payroll settings so that I can maximize my HSA as much as I can before I left my job. Okay. And anything that's coming up for the business, whether that be equipment or any type of cost that you need to incur to run your business, I would start going ahead and paying for those things and acquiring those things while I'm still working. And that would be after, obviously, I set up my legal structure of my business, because although I'm still working at my 9 to 5, my accountant, or even when I do my taxes on TurboTax, can start taking those deductions and taking my taxable income down, because I'm investing in my business right now. And that's going to take the taxable income down. And that's all I'll share about anything financial or legal related, because I do not do that. Okay. So also, let's discuss credit. This is still under the financial category. So let's discuss credit. Now, when my ex-husband and I were working on his business as a owner operator before he acquired his 18-wheeler, I was working with him on not just doing some of his bookkeeping and his mileage and things like that, but I was also working with him with doing the business credit research. So I spent a lot of time just understanding the process of making sure business credit was fine. But one of the prerequisites to good business credit, because what I noticed is people like to skip over the personal credit and get to the business credit. But what I've learned since being out on my own and running my business, that my name has rang bells. Let me explain. Our credit, as much as people like to avoid the credit thing, our credit is truly our credibility. When we go into a car dealership or we go into the American Express application to fill out a form for a credit card, or if we're working with trying to get a Capital One card or just whatever it may be, our credit worthiness is our name. That name, that credit score that's attached to our name, that's our credibility. So whenever you put your name into that application along with your social security number, they're saying because your credit score is 700 or 800, whatever it is, I can extend credit to you and trust that you would pay me back, because so far your score and your credit history has shown you to be credible. Now, if we're going in business, we want people to see us as credible because we're representing Christ. So these things that we're doing behind the scenes are going to show up in our business. This is why it's important to get our ducks in a row before we start a business, because how you show up in your business is going to be affected with how in every part of your business that you're doing. For instance, if your credit is really not in a good place, it's going to show in the kind of work that you're doing. Now, it's one thing to use your credit and leverage it to grow your business. And in your mind, because you're operating already by faith, you're saying, I'm going to acquire these funds in order to pay it back. That's completely different, because entrepreneurs do that all day, every day. But what I'm saying is, before you leave your job, and this is if you have the opportunity to set up a plan, get your credit right. You don't have to, I'm not saying acquire a ton of debt or anything. I'm saying get your credit right. That looks like paying off debt, paying down your debt to income ratios, paying down whatever it is that you can pay down. And once I paid it down and gotten my credit score over a 680 or a 720, I would start applying for new credit, because new credit can still help you with your new business. I would also work on paying off any type of vehicles, any type of loans, but making sure that I can at least get my credit score to a 680 and up. I would really say a 725 and up. Anything over 750, the better. 780, 800. I would work on that, because as you even start applying for your business credit, these things are going to matter how you maintain a personal credit history. So again, ask yourself, looking at your credit today, looking at your credit score today, how much money or how would you be able to acquire credit today? Are you able to pull up a credit website from a Capital One, an American Express, a Wells Fargo, PNC Bank? It's a lot of banks out here. US Bank. Are you able right now to go ahead and apply for credit and they don't decline? These are questions that are so important, because as we maneuver into the real world with doing business, we're going to want to know how to manage credit, how to manage debt, and how to get things that we need in order to grow our business. Giving. Let's talk about giving. That falls under the financial part as well. Some people, I'll just say some people, that claim the name of Christ are not givers. And I say this with love. It is many people that I've encountered over time that just have a problem here and there with giving. They have a problem with a pastor asking for donations. We're not even talking about tithing. We're scratching the tithing topic. We're not talking about a 10% or a tithe. We're talking about giving. If you are not a natural giver, you will struggle in your business. If you don't sow and give to other people, other business owners, if you're having a problem and you're constantly saying things like, that costs too much, or, why they charging that? And why is it this? You're going to have a very hard time in business. Because let me tell you this, a business owner, you being one of them, has the right to charge whatever they want to charge for whatever it is they buy, sell, or distribute. Whatever they believe their price is supposed to be or going to be, it is up to you to say, oh, thanks for sharing that price with me. I'm going to have to catch you on the next one. Or it's just something that you're not able to do at the time, but to say, how much does this cost? I hear people asking people, how much does this cost? Or even if you're going someplace, oh, they want to charge me this and this and this for that. You could either say yes or no. Because I'm going to tell you just like this. If it's free, it's a problem. I've said this before, and I say it because I know it to be true. If it's free, it's a problem. Come to a free seminar. Oh, why you got to have it on that day? Why you got to have it on that time? Why I gotta put an email address in to get this and that? Whatever it may be, if it's free, try the sample at Sam's Club. What is it? What you trying to sell me? It's always a problem, even if it's free. So if you're going to get compensated what you're worth for your business, you may as well charge what you're worth. Because I'm going to tell you, the same thing that's going to cost, if the same thing that you're going to sell for $20, someone else will sell it for $40. And then you'll be working just as hard to get that $40 by selling those two people as that one person worked on selling that one thing for $40. And the person that's buying it for $40, or if you price it at $20, they'll appreciate it. The people that buy, they're going to appreciate it. So if you're not a natural giver, like if you're not giving at your local church, or you're not giving to support people, if you go by a vendor's booth and you're never buying anything from a vendor, how do you expect anyone to support your business? Because it takes a natural giver to be able to have people that come to them the same way. The same way you're giving to other businesses, they're going to come to your business the same way. The same energy you're giving out, they're gonna come to your business and support it the same exact way. So just keep in mind about your giving. So number 7, I think it's number 7. No, number 7 was the finances. We just went over that. So number 8 is work on the business. If I was shifting and pivoting to a 9-to-5, I would be working on my business right now. Whatever it is I can do when I get off of work from my 6 to 10, I'd be working from 6 to 10 p.m. or 6 to 9, however many hours that you could dedicate, or I'd be giving and dedicating my weekends to growing and starting my business, whether that means reading the books, taking the courses, working with the coach, whatever it is, going to seminars, going to groups. I would be working on my business, because in order to pivot from that existing income or job, your mindset has to shift. A lot of times it's not a money problem that you're having a mindset problem. And I won't even say a lot of times when you're having a money problem, it's a spiritual problem. So when you're having an issue about fear and faith and stepping out on faith to do your job, you're having a spiritual problem, which goes back to your mindset. Your mindset has to be in a position where you're no longer thinking like an employee. An employee thinks very different from an entrepreneur. An employee is thinking about time and money, like by the hour, where an entrepreneur is basing what they're worth on projects. They're not looking at, I'm worth this by every hour. There's a huge shift that we're not trading time for money anymore. We're trading our time to maximize whatever it is that we're serving and offering people. So if you go to your job and you're complaining because you don't, the rush hour or whatever it is, you can actually shift your mind to show up at work sooner and earlier so that you can avoid the traffic. Whatever it is that you're complaining about with that job, you're going to have a similar problem in your own business if that mindset doesn't shift. If you're complaining about pricing, if you're complaining about something costs too much, or even just take inflation, these are things we cannot help. We cannot change inflation by complaining about it. We can't do anything. Now, every one of us, we see a difference in what that grocery bill looks like. We see a huge jump in what that grocery bill looks like. But I can't go to Kroger or H-E-B or Walmart or whoever and say, y'all need to lower these prices because inflation and my budget is this. God has given us ideas to make money. And if we work on developing our skill set and adding more skill sets to our name and to our background, we won't live a life where we're constantly complaining about what the grocery store is charging. Now, does it affect us? Does it affect other people? Yes, it does. We do not want to dismiss the fact that inflation is insane right now. But what can you and I do about it? Can you cut some costs with what you're going to pass off to your customer? Sometimes you can't even do that. So whatever you can do as a business owner, it's time to start really adapting those mindsets to be able to make a pivot. Because once you're out here and you're living on this faith, you want to connect with a lot of other business owners that don't have an employee mindset. Because an employee mindset is going to change how you do your job. You want to connect with business owners that are not thinking like an employee. Nothing's wrong with employees because we're going to be working with them, but meaning that there is a shift in how we have to think about our calling. We are leaders. We can't afford to complain about this and complain about that. We are leaders. People are depending on us. At a certain point, depending on the help you're getting, people are going to be depending on you to cut those paychecks every single week. People are going to depend on you to show up for your coaching business if they paid you thousands of dollars to coach them. So we can't go off of what we knew. We want to spend most of our time watching YouTube videos about entrepreneurship, digging into ministries or businesses like Cure for the Soul to get resources and get plugged into the right thing. So one thing I'm also going to be doing, which you see when you come on this channel in the intro, I say booking is now open, because what I'm going to be doing is working with other Christian entrepreneurs that have a business already. Well, I'll be bringing them on here and interviewing them so that they can still help you in your entrepreneurship and business ownership journey, where it just won't be me and my expertise. I'll be bringing people on here that are wiser than me, smarter than me. They're in businesses that I'm not involved in, and they have expertise that are going to be helping you all to get what you need to run a successful and a profitable business. So that mindset and just overcoming the fear. You may be thinking, what if I fail? What if I fail? Why? Well, what if you fail? My whole thing is, what if you succeed? What if you succeed at this business? Why would you be thinking like that? Your thoughts are going to produce the results that you're going to be getting. You have to think like a winner. You are a winner. You are built for this. Don't think, what if this happens? What if that happens? Look back in your past and look at how everything that has happened in your life, guess what? You're still here. You're still here by the grace of God. You're still here. All of the things that I have gone through in my life, guess what? I'm still here. God still has me here for a reason and a purpose. And I know at this point in my life that I have a responsibility to show up and serve the people I'm called to. I have a responsibility to be successful in my business, because I am not going to embarrass God. And I am assured at this stage that any hindrances to my growth has nothing to do with God. I'm making decisions every single day. He has already equipped me with everything I need. He's equipped me with the time, the resources, and the people in order to move forward. It is my responsibility to come up with these plans, bring them to God, and say, is this right? Could you give me wisdom on this? Because I have a responsibility to be profitable. If you did fail, you can look at a plan B as far as like how you would bounce back, because business, you do fail in business at certain stages. It doesn't have to be that the business failed overall, but in certain stages, you may have to pivot and learn from something that you did wrong. But if you're worried about failing or anything, that's really not the mind of an entrepreneur. So going back to that mindset and being able to work through that. As we're working on our business, we want to be working on us. Working on us is one of the most important things out of everything that I mentioned, because we want to become the person that we are striving to be. We have to act as if though, within our identity in Christ, we have to act as if though we are already that successful person. We have to know when we show up every day that this is going to work, because my habits, the habits that I have, that I'm disciplining myself already when I come home from work, or depending on your schedule, you get up early so that you could get some work done for your business early before you go to work, depending on your schedule. The habits that you have with your health, getting up, committing to yourself and not procrastinating, because procrastinating has everything to do with maybe you do not feel worthy of having this business. You don't really feel like you're the person to run this business. So if you're worried and procrastinating, who would worry and procrastinate if they knew that they had 10 clients lined up for when they finish this project? For when they finish their book? Who would worry and procrastinate? So ask yourself, if I'm worrying and procrastinating, why is that? Because the habits that you have now are going to be the same habits that you have when you pivot into a full-time business ownership. And do you have the right habits today that will move you into become a successful business owner on a full-time basis? Because we get so used to having those paychecks, y'all. The paycheck and the amount of pay that I was receiving before I left my employer, y'all don't think I missed that? But I'll be surpassing that because I know that what God put in me, I know that what he put in me, if I continue to work and have good habits and show up and do the things I'm supposed to do, revenue-driven activities, I'll stress that, because sometimes we could be busy doing the wrong things. We could be busy doing a lot of work that hides us behind something, and we're not doing revenue generating activities. What does revenue generating activities look like in our habits? Well, it could look like if you're going to be working and starting your business from home while you're still working, it could be doing your emails. It could be that you're reaching out to actually talk to people, have conversations with people. You conduct research with human beings and not do everything over the computer. You could call them on the phone. You can invite a friend to lunch and say, hey, I want you to help me with some research that I'm doing for my business. Since you are a part of my target market, these are some questions that are going to be helpful to me before I start my business. So work those 6 to 10 hours, 6 to 9 hours, and have those good habits. Like, do you have a habit before you get up and do your 9 to 5? Are there specific things that you do for yourself before you do your 9 to 5? Like reading your Bible, studying your Bible, looking at your goals or things like that. What are you specifically doing for yourself? Do you pack a healthy and nutritious lunch that is going to fuel you, as opposed to bring all your energy down because you've kind of, had a lot of fried foods, or you've had some foods that are going to weigh heavy on your digestive system? So working on our habits and identifying the ones that are not good, developing even the new habits are going to help us. These are the things that I would do if I was leaving a 9 to 5, starting a 9 to 5 while I still had my job, so I can pivot into working full-time for myself as an entrepreneur. Sometimes, and this is really not an easy question, but if it can be easy, meaning that you've worked to tweak it multiple times, this is going to save you a ton of time when you start your business. Who are you targeting? What do they look like? What do they do? Where do they hang out? What do they like to read? What do they like to watch? Who are you targeting? Is it male and female? Is it only female? Is it only male? How old are they? What's their demographics? Where do they live? Where do they show up and do things online? This is a hard assignment. Although you may do it initially a couple of times, but it takes time to really tweak it, because I am just now getting to a point where I've tweaked mine a few times because I just started this business. This is a new business. I incorporated this business late last year. And I had to learn how to disconnect it from the ministry, because most of this channel was built on Cure for the Soul Ministries. That's a whole nother type of thing. It's strictly biblical content, discernment content, spiritual growth content, totally different type of content. So being able to disconnect and move those into two different directions, even though they're part of the same family, but they're not the same things. And a rebrand is not as easy as it looks, because one person knows you for one thing and they come on your channel and say, well, this ain't what I thought I was getting, and they'll unsubscribe because this is not the thing. And when YouTube constantly gets notices and messages of people unsubscribing because this channel changed from Cure for the Soul Ministries, it's going to look at what I'm doing as not interesting because people are not watching it. Where they're not watching it because it's not the same things I used to do. So we want to separate those. It's important to separate it. That's why you see channels or people, not just channels or YouTube creators, you see people with different businesses. I had to start this as a different business because, for one, I have other projects that I'm wanting to publish that are not going to be published under ministries. I want to continue to use ministries as a nonprofit and not a profitable business. And I pivoted and created Cure for Her Soul as well, because there's a different vision that I have for that will be able to connect with all three of these. But in order to separate the bookkeeping and to separate the theme or who I'm targeting, I had to separate those. I can't do Cure for Her Soul or Cure for the Soul Ministries under Cure for the Soul Inc. because it will confuse the people that I'm called to serve. So for me, pivoting has felt like I'm changing an entire ship around, because I had to get with coaches. I had to buy new books. I had to take some new courses and to understand what I'm moving into as far as this business is concerned, which consists mostly of media and publishing and coaching. So we'll have media, this is a form of media and publishing, books and resources, that's publishing, as well as the coaching, which is a hybrid of all of what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, I'm involved in the media industry. And it's been that way for me for years. So really knowing who you're targeting will save you a ton of time. It will help the people that are assigned to you to be able to locate you, because you're speaking specifically to them. For instance, if I'm doing a health channel or a health business and I'm making supplements, I'm gearing those supplements maybe to people that struggle with diabetes, right? Or some type of insulin resistance, which falls within the same family to a degree, because you'll have insulin resistance before you get diagnosed with diabetes. But you cannot get diabetes if you work on the insulin resistance and remove that from your life. So if I was focused on supplements for them, it wouldn't include all the other ailments, right? It would be specifically that I'm targeting that particular problem. So I'm talking to that specific person. In that instance, it could be either I'm talking only to the females because it relates also to hormones, or I could talk to a male and females, maybe male and females over 35 years old. In the case of my business, I am talking to Christians who want to create purpose-driven businesses. That's who I target. And my resources help Christians that are already in business. As I work to expand the resources that I'll be offering through publishing, it's going to be able to help Christians that are already in business. But through coaching, I help, and Dream Big Goals, I help Christians called to create or restart a purpose-driven business. So I'm very specific on that. I serve both men and women. I've been working with both men and women for all of my adult life in sales in marketing and all of the careers that I have, I've been able to communicate extremely well with males. Most of my clients that I service, especially in the later part of my career in the MRO space, maintenance, repair, and operations, facilities maintenance, I dealt with a lot of men. So I had to make a lot of deals with a lot of men. I've worked with a lot of men my entire life. And as a matter of fact, dealing with men is much easier in a large scale selling capacity than it is with dealing with some of the females that are at the C level, like the C-suite level. A lot of the females, a lot of them are really great, but men, their analytics and the way they make decisions is a little different. And if they especially like you and you're giving them good solutions, they'll be more inclined to hear you out. Whereas a lot of females sometimes in those executive roles, a lot of them are nice, but some of them can be like, no, they could shut you down immediately. Like, we're not hearing it. I'm not trying to hear it. And so you want to know exactly who you serve. If you're not good with connecting with men, why would you serve men in your business if you're not called to them? I don't believe that you would be called to serve certain type of people if they don't reflect your background, your skill set, and your history as well. So we're coming to a close. We're coming to a close. So what skills do I need to learn? Depending on your type of business, what skills do I need to learn that are specific to my business? Do I need to learn tech skills? Tech skills, right? Starting this YouTube channel. I'm used to writing. I'm used to publishing blog posts and doing everything else that I need to do to publish myself. But getting into tech, yeah, I was in tech with my art business. I had to use a lot of technology as far as like Photoshop and the camera and do a lot of, some editing on, once I take the photos, sometimes depending on the angle in which the photo was taken, I had to crop it out and actually put these into Photoshop so that I could display them on my website. So I'm used to using tech. I'm used to playing behind websites and WordPress and WooCommerce and stuff like that. But coming onto YouTube with a camera, and then not just the camera, but the fact that you have to learn all these tools and all of this and all of that and your microphone and your audio. I just think the audio for me was an issue because of the camera. I was using a DSLR camera initially, and the camera quality was great. But I later learned that the connection for that camera microphone, for me to plug an external microphone, that the port was bad to begin with. So I kept buying microphones and sending them back and thinking that the microphones were just terrible, where it was my DSLR camera that may have cost about $600. It had a bad port in an audio, but I didn't know it because I had been using it only for photography or silent video, where I didn't necessarily need to have a huge audio focus. So what type of tech skills are you going to need to build your business? Would you need to learn WordPress, some type of coding? Would you have to learn Canva, Photoshop? Would you need to learn how to network? You do not know how to network. Learn how to network. That's an important skill, learning how to talk to strangers. Every business owner should be able to do this. Share the gospel, because at the end of the day, we are called to share the gospel with the lost. And we're also called to even just share God with people. They don't have to necessarily be unbelievers, but we're called into the business world because we're taking on a bigger mission for Christ. It's not just, oh, I get to make money. I get to buy my big house. I get to have employees. That's great. And then you get to manage your time, spend more time doing the things you love, and to work with your family and, your loved ones, and do a lot of the things that you would like to do. But our primary focus of wherever God is calling us, it is to glorify him and also to continue spreading the good news. If we do not know how to sell and network and walk up to strangers with confidence, why am I so confident? I can meet a stranger. I can go up to a man, a woman, an executive level, CEO level, and never be ashamed to communicate with them because I've done it for so long. But how did I get there? Well, before I had to get there because I used to be extremely shy. People won't believe that, but at my core, I'm an introverted person. I can thrive alone in so many environments. And, but I had to overcome the fear of talking to people. But this started early on in my life. This is how me and the Lord grew our relationship, is because through Christ, I learned to overcome something that wasn't there. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It's not real. So God had to show me that he didn't give me a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. And if he didn't give me that spirit, then who gave it to me? He didn't give me that. He didn't give me a spirit of fear. He gave me a spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind. So if I'm operating in fear and I'm afraid to talk to people about God, oh, if you deny me before men, I would deny you before my Father. Are you kidding me? We have the power of the living God living in us. We don't have to be afraid of anything or talking to anyone. Do you talk to people when you're at the grocery store? What about when you're standing in line for something? Do you spark conversation? I talk to so many people. These people are not even thinking about me. They're not thinking about saying anything to me, but I'll make conversation with them and say, "Ooh, this produce looks good," or just something. And we spark a conversation. We don't have to get into sharing a full-grown, blown conversation about, do you know Jesus Christ? God will show you when to open up that opportunity. But getting in a habit of talking to people consistently, what business owner doesn't talk to people? And we'll cover this on another video because I believe it's very important. But join some business groups as well to get acquainted with getting back familiar in the space where you belong. You need to be around other leaders. You need to be around leaders that are not just your bosses and your managers. You need to be around other leaders, and you can find them in groups. If you can't get out, you could do Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups and stuff like that and start networking and connecting with people. But we'll talk about selling on another video, selling and networking actually, because I've noticed this as well over time. This is another thing that helped me to overcome my fear. Like I said, I'm going to go back to the selling part. But the other thing that helped me was God helped me. I'm going to give him all the credit for that. And God used people in my life early on from elementary school on out, to call on me. The teachers would call on me to deliver speeches in front of groups in the auditorium. My pastor called on me at 19 and 20, as I mentioned prior. So people start recognizing your gifts and then they call you forward, and God will use those people to call you forward. In addition to that, when I was doing nails, I knew that when my books were not full, which was most of the time as a new nail tech, nobody knew you. And not only that, they didn't want their nails to come off because you're new and they don't know you. How do they know that after they pay you that their nails would last? We're not talking about just a mani-pedi. We're talking about acrylic applications, right? So if you're new, you may not be good at it, right? So what I had to do with that is I learned to equate me making money with talking to people. Most of these people were not thinking about me, but I was thinking about them. So I went up to strangers. I went up to different people when I worked at Hudson's in the department store, which is now Macy's. Depending on your region, it was Hudson's then, but it's Macy's now. When I worked there, coming right out of beauty school and freshly licensed, they asked me, can you go see? And this is a business that has clientele. They asked me, do you feel comfortable walking up to people in our store that are shopping and inviting them into the salon for services when you're not booked? So we're picking up on a lot of cues. God is showing us and sending people our way to help us to develop along the way. But if we're so afraid of talking to people, how are we going to be in business? Business isn't only selling yourself to your client. Business is also connecting with other business owners to do collaborations and being confident that you have what it takes in order to be able to collaborate with them. If I hear another person that say God is calling them to a business and they're talking about they hate sales, y'all better get this book. If I hear another, and it's not even just believers that I hear, if I hear another person say, I don't like sales, and then some of these things I hear, they be like, we could teach you how to sell without sounding sleazy. For one, I can't stand when they say sounding sleazy, because sales is not sleazy. Sales is one of the most respected professions in the world. One of the oldest and most respected professions. It's a profession in the world. And when you acquire a skill of selling, which helps you to overcome your fear. I wasn't good at selling when I had never done it. But learning how to overcome your fear of selling, you just become a better seller. You automatically start becoming a better seller. I don't know any good sellers that were good initially. They were possibly good with talking to people, but being good at sales is a skill. And if we're called to share the gospel, no, they're not the same things, but meaning you have a solution. You have the answer to a problem. So anytime I'm offering Dream Big Goals, if I'm offering my coaching services, it's because I have a solution to a problem. And I'm going to feel confident selling whatever it is I'm selling for whatever price it is, because I know I have the solution to the problem. And that's exactly how you have to show up with your business, or you'll continue to be stuck at the 9-to-5 trying to figure out how to do your business. You have to know that you are that person. You are in the marketplace because people need what you have. You're not selling them just another t-shirt. I don't know how many of you all follow Entre Believer. They have like the Christian t-shirt brand and they're big on social media. But they talk about their process all the time. So when you're buying anything from Entre Believer, they're educating you, and they're just not an average t-shirt brand that you could just go grab at Walmart. And they make a lot of money selling t-shirts and hats because they actually have a brand, and then they sell themselves. They're selling it. They're not just saying, oh, well, I don't like selling. It's sleazy. Selling is the oldest and most respected profession in the world. When I didn't finish getting a bachelor's degree, my parents, they gave me some advice before I even went to acquire my trade. They said, before you go off to college, consider this, because I was just going to go right off to college after getting, after high school. But my parents started talking to me, and they were like, okay, my mom's like, I work at the beauty school, and I know you like doing nails. Let's work on getting you into the beauty school, because you're going to need a trade. You're going to need a trade to sustain you. that could sustain you while you're in college. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever gotten from my parents. It has helped me and it has proven to be true because not only did I have a trade, which I learned to develop entrepreneurial, self-employment and business skills, communication, marketing, and things like that at a very young age, it helped me to go to college full time because I was able to still have my business and my clientele on my own schedule when I started working for myself. Okay, so after I did the manicuring, then they said, this is before they said it, they laid it out before I did one or the other. So I did the beauty school. So the next step that they had, I went to Wayne State University and I was going there full time. But when we go to universities, we're taking a lot of classes per se that are prerequisites that we may not need. They're just unique to the university. So they said, LaTanya, I know you want to be at Wayne State, but how about considering going to the community college? Macomb Community College is one of the best in the nation. They have a high rating and they're right here in Warren, Michigan. And that way you can get your associate's degree and you can always transfer back to Wayne State to finish up your bachelor's degree. That was excellent advice, but because I never finished my bachelor's degree, there were circumstances that happened in my life with my family where I went on to move on my own. And I just said, okay, if I really want to finish college, I'll go back and finish college. But I, for one, had a trade. And I, for two, had an associate's degree. Now, if I did not have that associate's degree and I just had maybe 3 years of college, university, but I never finished, a lot of the opportunities I had in the working world never would have happened without me, one, having my own business experience and having the trade. And for two, I had an associate's degree. Because I had an associate's degree and a selling skill, I was able to move into positions with people that had bachelor's degrees because I had a selling background and an associate's degree. And before I even learned how to sell in a professional setting, it was because I had the associate's degree that they were able to hire me and bring me on board. So I learned how to sell from, I believe, and I'll have to think about it. I believe one of the first things I sold for a company may have been software. I'll have to verify that, but I believe it was like a software. And from then on, I went to do different types of sales. And that's a skill that every business owner needs. I don't care what type of business you have. Even if you are a hairstylist, you're constantly selling your services. You're constantly upselling. If a person comes in for one service and you have another solution for them, it's going to be an upsell. But at the same time, it's something that's going to benefit them. Why wouldn't they buy it from you? They're already there and you're the expert. So I just want us to look at that different. I'll do another video on that. But I'm about to wrap up. Do you all have any questions? I know we've been going for a little over an hour. Okay. Hey, Samuel, good to see you. He says, Sister LaTanya, it is your experience that people generally buy from you because they first like you personally. Let me see if I can look at that a little different. Okay. Because this big old thing is in the way. Let me see if I could pull your comment up over here. Okay, he says, is it your experience that people generally buy from you because they like, or is it because they like you personally? I think that's what it's saying. I think it's both. I think it's the favor of God on our lives, for one, because wherever we go, He's within us. So as we're obeying the leading of the Holy Spirit and we have that light within us, people are naturally going to be drawn to that light. So they're going to be more inclined to listen to you if you ask them a specific question like, oh, how's your day going today? Just to a stranger or something. So it's both. It's the favor of God, because doing sales It involves a lot of prayer. Just like sharing the gospel with someone involves like a lot of prayer. You don't want to just throw yourself on people, and you want to be able to have the right communication going at the right time in order to share the gospel as well. And yes, people do buy from people they know, like, and trust. They will be quicker. It's quicker for them to buy from someone that they actually know, and then they like you, and then they trust you. Just picture yourself maybe going into the car dealership. If a particular sales rep came off to you the wrong way, I think you would already know that this is someone that you're not interested in doing business with, right? Because we've all had those incidents where maybe we're like, why couldn't he help me? He seems like he's the nice one. Or why couldn't she help me? So yes, people do have to initially like you, and then they're getting to know you, and then they start building trust in you. So it's the way, we serve people, but those are things that could start like right now. Okay, Shireen said, I don't know if she was saying this specifically to selling, but she said, I'd be up the creek if I lost my job, although I work for the city. So it would be a lot to take a lot to lose my job. Let me read that again. I'd be up the creek if I lost my job, although I work for the city. So it would take a lot for me to lose my job. I see what she's saying. But I want to go back to that. That statement is important that she said. And I'm going to read this one that Alexa wrote as well. What Shireen just said, she said she'd be up the creek if she lost her job. Now, I don't know how long some of you have been on your job. Depending on the length of time you've been on your job, why would we be up a creek when we've been at certain roles? Like if you've been at your job for 2 years or 3 years or something like that, I would think that you would be kind of getting on like a savings plan, trying to get your life bounced back. Because when I moved here, I was getting on my feet when I started at HD Supply. And really, I had to pay off debt for the business and get myself back into a financially stable position in order to be able to save again and to pay off things. So not only did I pay off over $27,000 in debt, I paid off my car, and I saved a substantial lot of money before I even started to save for those 2 years and living off of a portion of my income. So we have to look at our habits in our personal lives, our financial habits, our spending habits. We want to look at and evaluate our spending habits to see, like, for the time that we have already invested in working at our company. I don't know if it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. We should be putting ourselves into a position where we're not living off of every penny of that income. And if you're living off of every penny of that income, you may have to get a second job. You may have to get a second job so that you could pay down some things, or either start your business so that the business, whatever services, if you provide a service or something like that, so that the business could start supplementing your existing income. Okay? But we have to, it's important that we look at our finances, because whatever financial habits that we have now, if they're not good, they're not going to be good for the business. If they're not good for us personally, they're not going to be good for the business either. So I hope that helps. Let's see. She said that, Alexa says, yes, I have been in business for 7 years, and I see my business is in a standstill, not much growth. I need to revamp. Yes, I'm able to help with that. Rebranding and revamping and clarifying your purpose and your message. Some people start a business and it's not built on purpose initially. So in order to pivot into a purpose-driven business, we'll go through a series of questions where I'd be able to assist and help you to clarify your messaging and get you back on track with a brand new brand. Branding is not about colors per se, as you see me with my blue and green everywhere you turn. It's about the message that you want people to receive when they see and hear your brand. So sometimes if you're stuck, that could mean that you do need to clarify some things. You need to look at some things and have a person to give a bird's eye view over what you're not able to see. You've been able to survive in business for 7 years. And I want to say that's commendable. Praise God that you're in business for 7 years. Yeah, but just a conversation. You could book a free call. You could go to cureforthesoul.com and you'll see there where it allows you on that main page to book a free strategy call, and you'll see that link there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up, everyone. I appreciate you all being here. I want to start giving more practical examples as not just tips, but I'm going to be bringing more practical examples of things moving forward, maybe a little case studies from my own life, because the finances is the number one reason why businesses fail. And it's the number one reason why we're not able to move forward and take advantage of opportunities as believers. We have to get to a point as believers where we're separating the fact that, oh, I'm doing it by faith. We know we're doing it by faith because guess what? We're here by faith. We're able to live each day by faith because of God and because we placed our faith and our trust in Him. But we can't wait for God to do things for us just because we prayed about it. Now, I mentioned before that we don't have a tier-based strategy. Like I used to cry when things didn't work out. And because it was nothing I felt that I could do, I was much younger then. But does God answer our tears? Yes, He does. He did it with Hagar. He responds to our tears because sometimes it's nothing that we can do. But if we can't hire someone, go to YouTube University. Pay for a course on LinkedIn. Pay for something on Skillshare. There's something that we could do to learn about our financial position. And the better off that you are financially now, it will help you as you run your own business because finances are a huge deal in life and business. So let's see. He said, someone called it an introvert. Yeah, at my core, when I say I'm the person, I don't need a lot of people around. I can lock myself in for days, weeks, and months and not feel like, oh, I'm lonely. Oh, no, I don't feel like that. Give me some good content to watch on YouTube, some business stuff. Let me look at some houses or things that I enjoy doing on YouTube and give me a library and I'm good. And it's like that because I'm good at both. I'm good at communications and talking to people and being able to use the extroverted side, but somebody called it an ambivert. I think it's called an ambivert when you have a combination of both. And no believer really should be, quote unquote, an introvert, like only an introvert anyway, because God calls us to connect with His children. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up. I appreciate you all being here. Thanks for dedicating your time to Cure for the Soul. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has been helpful, please share it with another friend. God willing, I will see you on the next one. And I see I need to practice with some things before I come back on here. But I'll be back on here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central. Y'all bear with me. I'm going to get this thing right. God bless you.